Welcome to the Real Estate Family Podcast. We are the Gibbons family, a group of misfits that somehow built a life around real estate. We've been fired, failed, started over, and learned most everything the hard way. This podcast is where we tell real stories and lessons behind owning homes, fixing them, renting them out, and making it work as a family. And in this episode, we're going to be telling you about why we left Washington, D.C. Everyone talks about taking big risks, but nobody talks about what it actually feels like after you do it. After 40 years in DC, we moved our entire family of 11 people to South Carolina. It happened on a 3-minute phone call, maybe less, between Drew and I. There was no master plan, no 5-year strategy. We didn't sit down with a spreadsheet and map it out. We honestly just both said yes. And what happened after that is the part nobody prepares you for.
The decision took 3 minutes. The fallout is still playing out. When the opportunity showed up, we didn't hesitate. We knew that if we waited, it would close. So we moved. We didn't know enough, not even close. We didn't understand the rules, the costs, or how different short-term rentals would be from what we were used to. We didn't know how hard it would get. We were terrified. We just moved anyway because we were excited. If we had waited until we felt ready, we would still be living in DC and the window would have shut. Nothing would have changed. That 3-minute phone call was the easy part. What came after really was the hard part.
Drew actually was the last one to leave. You could tell anybody what it was like to still be there. You know, we wanted to get out of there. This was the move. And yeah, the first cracks started to show very quickly. We were selling our first property in DC that was going to fund our first investment down here. And the day of settlement, it's 4 p.m. and the lender stops answering the phone call. I'm staring at the screen thinking, we're dead. We haven't even started. This is before we even start. I had already moved to South Carolina. We were planning to build everything off of this sale and the deal just dies. Like, what are we supposed to do at this point? Do I sell my new home that I just bought and move back? Do we re-rent this house? Do we pretend this never happened? And it was over the 4th of July week that this happened. It ended up closing a week later, but it honestly felt like a year. It was the longest week of my entire life, let me say that. And that was the first time I realized that this was not going to move on our timeline. And that sale and all of the sales have been part of 1031 exchanges. We were selling properties that were investment properties. And so we were doing 1031 exchanges for the tax shelter that provides in order to make this whole transition happen. But as part of that, you're selling properties that are making real money. And the second that you sell one of those, the income stops. In fact, before you sell them, the income stops because you're clearing out the tenant that's in there paying you rent, and you're taking on the debt, you're taking on the expenses, you're taking on the insurance, the taxes, and all while you're trying to invest money to get the house ready to sell. And then it's sitting on the market for a number of weeks because it wasn't necessarily the hottest market ever. And the second that the property sells, you then have to buy the next property. And now you've got 4 to 6 months of fix-up costs before it produces anything. There's new debt, there's new insurance, there's new taxes, and it adds up fast. I mean, when the tenant moves out to try to sell the first one and then you're getting the new one ready, I mean, you're down for several months, and we're used to making money off the rentals, and we're trying to get the thing going. I don't know about you guys, but I was definitely feeling the pressure.
Well, I think one of the biggest things we've learned through this is that once you stop getting the rental checks, you're in it. You got to move fast. The house needs to be cleaned up, repaired, fixed to get it on the market. You can't waste any time, can't waste any money. You want to move efficiently. Contractors have a reputation for delaying things. So we do so much of that stuff ourselves.
Like you said, there's no turning back.
And there's no turning back. Once that funnel of rental money stops, you've got to go to make your money on the appreciation, or if the market switches quickly, which has happened.
And then you add in the pressure of the 1031 exchange clock, which we had some issues with throughout, where once you've sold the first property, you're on this 45-day clock to identify the new properties. And we had one property we really wanted. It went under contract while we were still trying to close on our property. I thought we'd missed out on it completely. Mom was like totally freaking out. And we were still trying to sell ours. It took 3 buyers to sell our house. One backed out, another walked out on the home inspection. Months went by, income gone. We're holding the cost on all this thing, trying to line up the next deal at the same time. And that was a complete just train wreck. Mom was losing her mind. And then on top of it, when you're doing a 1031 and you've never done one before, it feels very strange. It's a very unique and bizarre feeling to have this person that you've never met holding all of your money. And it's a lot of money that they're holding because we own these properties for so long. And you have this attorney or 1031 exchange intermediary, they call them, that's holding all of this money for you. And basically, when you go under contract, you're hoping that they wire it there at settlement. It's kind of crazy.
And it's funny, since then, we've now done quite a few 1031 exchanges. So it's like anything in life, it's gotten a little bit easier each time. Not dealing with banks, but in terms of knowing what we're doing. But that very first time of just not knowing what we're doing, identifying properties legally, having to list them out, going through like you're under a clock. And so you really can't have any wasted movement.
Even the difference in Drew right now talking about 1031 exchanges now, I mean, you really don't know until you get
No,
it.
I had only ever known the phrase, quite frankly, and I worked professionally in real estate for many years. But then having actually done it, once you do it, it's really quite nice for the tax benefits.
Yeah.
But before you do it, it's very overwhelming, very daunting. There's a very strict set of guidelines you have to follow.
You're not kidding. You're not kidding. And it still never gets easier, even the third, fourth, fifth, sixth time that you're wiring, that they're sending off all of your money to this stranger. That still doesn't get any easier.
Quite frankly, we definitely thought the hardest part would be the work, but it wasn't. The hard part was the time. Construction got delayed, loans got delayed, closings got delayed. It felt like every time we solved one problem, we hit another waiting period. And that's the thing with real estate is once you close one problem, a million other problems pop up. It's problem solving.
Truer words never spoken, literally.
No matter how hard we pushed, we couldn't make the system move faster. That never happens. The system goes at its own pace. When things slowed down, we didn't think, oh, this is normal. We thought, did we screw this up? When you can't see progress, doubt gets loud. The work is happening, you just can't see it yet. And that messes with your head because patience really is key with this.
And then came our first winter as short-term rental host, which only added stress to the entire thing. And I knew that winter was going to be slow. I think we all did. But we did not know that it was going to be a zero, like a literal zero. From December to March 1, it was basically nothing. We're still carrying debt. We're still carrying insurance. We're still carrying utilities. We're still trying to do these other 1031 exchanges. Believe me, this isn't on just the winter. We made plenty of mistakes in this as well. Having never owned rental property in this area before, we had thought, oh, the holidays will be a 7-day booking. No, the holidays should have been 2-day bookings. Any booking you can get over the winter is a win, and we just didn't know that. So not only was it slow, but we're screwing up, we're messing ourselves up. You don't just feel unlucky, you feel dumb.
And if all of this scares you and you're considering a big life change, that's a good sign. You need to be afraid. You can't have all of the answers. Life happens. Things get delayed. Things get lost. There's so much red tape. If you're trying to start a small business or just change your life radically, it doesn't always go the way you expect it to, but stick with your dream. Keep working towards what you're trying to get to. It will all work out. We are only just now seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. But all of this looking back was really quite scary, but we had hope.
I mean, the fear is the fuel. Like you wake up every morning like you're shot out of a cannon.
I will either fail or maybe I'll not fail.
The fear is its own rush, baby.
That's exactly right. And look, at some point, the fear stops becoming background noise. It's very present. It gets very loud. You start to worry, are you going to run out of money? And the real fear sets in. There were nights where I would lay in bed thinking maybe we just dragged everyone into something that won't work. Maybe we'll fail. With our parents in their late 70s trying to retire, siblings having kids and making life moves. All of this money is tied together. There's no clear income plan where we started. That's the real pressure. And when you're that high up, every wobble feels huge because it affects everyone. A slow week feels like failure, and you start looking for proof that you made a mistake.
Yeah, when the stakes are high, emotions get really loud. There was a lot of yelling. I mean, there's always a lot of yelling in our family, but there was especially a lot of yelling. There were fights. There were things said that you can't take back. This is your fault. We shouldn't have left. I don't know if we can do this. What if we lose everything? It wasn't anger. Everyone was terrified. And the fear doesn't whisper, it screams at you. I mean, it lives with you every single day. I mean, we're an anxious group as it is. And that was probably the closest we ever got to breaking, not because the business had failed, but because the pressure had gotten so heavy. And when the pressure sits for that long and it leaks out all over the place, you've got people starting fights that you'd never imagined. What we didn't understand really at the time was that the tension doesn't mean that we're collapsing, that we're failing. It means that this matters. We weren't failing, we were just in it. Being in it was super uncomfortable, and we were all taking out our fear on each other. And that was when it really got bad, as we were all just kind of crossing each other in the night, yelling about how terrified we were, that came out as yelling at the other person.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember we are brothers. We closed one business that we started from zero, worked all the way up, really looked at our lives and decided we would be happier throwing that away and taking a huge gamble on something that we only hoped would work out. So with all of the hope comes all of the fear, but we're in it together. And if you have someone to do it with, I highly recommend doing it with someone.
Dreaming big's like walking a really high tightrope. And by the way, we are not twins. And to everyone on the internet that thinks we are twins, we're not twins. I guess we look alike. I guess we look alike now, but everyone seems to ask that. I'm like 4.5 years older than him, and I'm not sure if it's an insult at him or an insult at me.
I'm either getting uglier or you're getting better looking or vice versa. I don't know.
But we get that all the time. It's crazy now.
And look, here's the strange part. None of this is new for us. We are not fearless. We're just very anxious. We overthink. We run worst case scenarios in our heads constantly. But we've learned something over time. Thinking longer does not make it safer. Let me say that again. Thinking longer does not make your dreams safer. Action is what brings clarity. We don't move because we're brave. We move because sitting makes it worse. If you have a dream, go for it. And once we move, the fog starts to lift. At some point, we stopped asking, is this going to work? And we started asking, how do we stay long enough to find out? That changed everything. We didn't need certainty. We needed endurance. When something broke, we fixed it. When something didn't book, we adjusted it. You adjust the pricing. There's always ways to figure it out. When a deal fell apart, we found another buyer. Messy and imperfect, but always moving forward.
Isn't it funny that we actually learned that in our first business and in most of our businesses, and we just keep relearning the same damn lesson over and over again? And that, like, it's crazy that that just keeps popping its head up. It's about survival and sticking with it long enough. Like, what was that stat? Is like 80% of people that start becoming realtors are out of the business in 5 years. And I remember thinking, you and I having conversations like, if we just make it 5 years, we'll make it.
If you're trying to create something from nothing, you're going to come across massive speed bumps, but you must endure those speed bumps and keep pushing. 70% of real estate agents didn't make one sale in 2025. That's a great opportunity for those that did to succeed. You have to survive bad markets, survive good markets. You have to pursue things even though they're hard.
Even when we started making content, I mean, I remember making that video when we hit 1,000, where you guys threw the sheet of paper at me and we were in the office. I mean, that was like 2019.
Yeah.
And we were at 50,000 like last year. Like it takes a long time. And honestly, like Mr. Beast is right. Like this is true about anything, but he always tells people make 1,000 videos. Yeah. The reason he's saying that is because you suck at it now. And after you make 1,000, you might be decent enough to figure out what you did wrong. We've made 3,000 videos or something like that in the last couple of years. And that's that way with anything. We've only been doing short-term rentals for a year. 4 years from now, we're going to be better at it than we are now.
I agree. And, look, you take everything with a grain of salt. Like, I got to give a shout out to Anthony Kim, who persevered through a difficult time in his life. We only make social media videos and we talk about real estate. Hopefully, we are able to help someone. But if you are an entrepreneur starting a small business, going through a dream where you're struggling and there are speed bumps or it didn't go the way you wanted it to, Anthony Kim, man, never quit. Just don't quit. Keep making the videos, post more, keep filming more, get out there, do something that's interesting that you love. Don't give up, never ever quit. Shout out Anthony.
Shout out Anthony Kim. Love that. Stayed up till 2 in the morning watching that. None of this worked because we were fearless. It didn't work because we were smarter than anyone. We're not smarter than anyone. We were scared the entire time. We're still scared. We just didn't stop. We didn't give up, just like Drew said. The 3-minute phone call hasn't won yet, but it's looking better and better every day. And here's what we learned. Big risks don't work because you're fearless. They work because you last.
Just keep going. Don't give up.